Tonight, a back-to-back blow for millions of West Australians. The Reserve Bank hikes rates for the second straight month. We're live to Nollamara as motorists sit in long lines for cheaper fuel as the Deputy PM refuses to rule out rationing. A young lawyer murdered in a Crown Towers hotel room. Now a Perth father is jailed for life. Plus Queen Mary on hallowed turf. The Danish royals having a ball at the MCG. And a Star Dockers defender facing further delay to his season start.
This is 9 News Perth with Michael Thomson.
Good evening. A hammer blow tonight as the Reserve Bank raises the cash rate again, the second month in a row. It's a decision fuelled by uncomfortably high inflation and the war in Iran. And it split the RBA with 4 board members voting to keep rates on hold.
A war in the Middle East causing central bankers in Australia to rub salt in the wounds. A tank of petrol costs more. That means everything else will cost more too. Filling up George Karanikos' food truck now costs him an extra $100 a week. And while he's reluctant, he says he simply has to put up his prices.
It's either we look for alternative products and decrease the quality, or we pass on the expense to the consumer.
This is the inflation the Reserve Bank is trying to stamp out by hiking interest rates once again today.
Fuel prices and this additional rise in mortgage rates is going to be hard for some people. I do understand that. But it'll be much worse if inflation gets built into the fibres, and then we will see the costs of everything going up.
It was a split decision from a divided board. 5 members in favour of a hike, 4 wanted to hold. All the big 4 banks today passing on the rate hike within 3 hours.
We don't want to have a recession, but if it's hard to get inflation down, then, we're going to have to deal with that.
For those with a $600,000 mortgage, this rate rise will mean finding an extra $91 a month to give to the bank, while $1 million mortgage will cost an extra $151 a month to service, and they could go again.
We're not changing our view that they are going to go again in May. They came into this, even before the Middle East conflict, with inflation that was too high.
The Treasurer again blaming strength in the private sector, but
I meant it when I said there'll be more savings in the budget in May.
It's clear that the government is denying their contribution.
My fuel bill has gone up, the cost of everything's gone up, and now keeping a roof over my head in the form of a mortgage or rent goes up as well. Are they on board with the plan here?
It is hard, I understand that, but it is the only instrument we have, and it is important that we get inflation down.
For households, this is wearing thin. Just compared with a few weeks ago, they're paying about $80 a month more for fuel and as much as $300 a month more in mortgage interest. All to tackle an inflation crisis the RBA and government simply can't get under control. And thanks to the war, it will get worse.
How much can they spend on a souvlaki, for example, or chips? I mean, there's limits to everything.
Chris Kohler, 9 News.
Rates are up, fuel is up, so now it's over to the Treasurer. Political editor Charles Croucher looks at what Jim Chalmers can do to bring things under control.
The 5-4 split vote today will give the Treasurer and borrowers hope for a hold in May, but uncertainty rules. Donald Trump and the ruthless regime in Iran probably hold the key, and yet unfortunately they won't be losing any sleep over Australian mortgage holders. The government can't control what happens in the Middle East, but the Reserve Bank noted that inflation was already too high before the war broke out. That means the government must instead look to the budget. Jim Chalmers has nearly 2 months to publicly or privately or subtly or subliminally show the Reserve Bank that restraint will be the order of his budget. That challenge as the government asks all Australians to show restraint at the Bowser. The lines of the times, higher petrol prices somehow driving higher demand.
We were very clear with the industry that they need to be open, honest and transparent with their customers.
The ACCC holding an emergency meeting with major retailers, Ampol, BP, Chevron, 7-Eleven and Caltech's parent company Euro Garage. Also there, state automotive associations and the Institute of Petroleum.
The ACCC has the powers that they need to crack down on any dodgy behaviour.
I think we all agree that the crisis we face in Australia today is a demand crisis and not a supply crisis.
Tonight, the Deputy Prime Minister refusing to rule out fuel rationing in the future.
This is a function of how long this conflict continues, and that's not something that I can answer in terms of what's going to happen.
All companies say to me that they fully expect all deliveries all through March and well into April.
It's been 47 years since the last nationwide restrictions.
Only those motorists whose number plate ended with an even figure were entitled to buy petrol, but there were those who didn't qualify who queued up for long periods anyway.
Filling up was also capped. One Nation says it's already time to bring it back.
It'd be handy if you didn't close those refineries when you're in government.
Well, I kept the last two open.
The ACCC was told that the worst of the price rises in stores and supermarkets is still to come.
We need to get the fuel out of our metropolitan areas into those rural communities where it's needed to grow your food and fibre, where it's needed to get kids to school.
Regions reared through drought tonight, facing a different kind of dry. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Well, motorist mayhem in Nollamara today. Long lines for fuel since sunrise. Jenny Shon is there, and Jenny, some drivers waiting for more than an hour.
Michael, you would think drivers were here for a celebrity sighting. Instead, it is for petrol under $2 a litre. This is the situation since early this morning. Queues wrapping around roads and car parks before the station in Nollamara even opened. This vibe, one of the cheaper places in Perth. One motorist telling me she has never seen anything quite like it.
All the other petrol stations is about another 40 cents more a litre. That's the thing, and that's ridiculous.
Cheap Tuesday is always my fill-up day because I'm only a 17-year-old kid, so I guess got to save every penny, you know.
It's ridiculous, to be honest, but, you know, it is what it is.
The metropolitan average for unleaded today is $2.28.8 a litre, and Michael, it will be going up again tomorrow by 11 cents.
Jenny, thank you. Under $2 today. That is cheap in these times. Thanks, Jenny. With the movement of oil tankers in the Middle East at a standstill, the Australian government has confirmed it has not been asked to send our Navy to the Gulf. The US President today lashing out at allies refusing to help secure the Strait of Hormuz.
The US President and his most prized warplane.
Let me just hug that little sucker.
The B-2 bomber among the arsenal of assets which the US says has struck more than 7,000 Iranian targets. But the regime is still fighting back and hitting where it hurts, striking the key oil port of Fujairah in the UAE, but its biggest offensive, the fuel blockade.
I knew about the Strait, that it would be a weapon, which I predicted a long time ago. Predicted all of this stuff. You guys were very generous in that. I predicted all of it. I predicted Osama bin Laden would knock out the World Trade Center.
With the Strait of Hormuz at an impasse, the US President is increasing his pressure on allies to join America in forcing it open.
Numerous countries have told me they're on the way. Some are very enthusiastic about it and some aren't.
It's not our war, we didn't start it, said Germany's defence minister, while the British Prime Minister says his country won't be drawn into a wider conflict.
So we're working with all of our allies, including our European partners, to bring together a viable collective plan.
As Australia confirmed, we haven't been asked.
We've not received a request from the United States in respect of the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, we're not contemplating sending a ship.
We don't need anybody. We're the strongest nation in the world.
America's war on Iran has now reached day 17. The US President today inside the Oval Office declaring the conflict will end soon, but that won't be this week. Iran's new supreme leader, who still hasn't been seen, today issuing just his second statement to confirm all those previously appointed to government positions by his father would remain in their posts. Israel launched a targeted ground operation against Hezbollah, pushing further into Lebanon. Here, hundreds of thousands of civilians have been forced to flee their homes, the region confronting day after day of uncertainty. In Washington, D.C., Lauren Tomazi, 9 News.
A Perth father has been jailed for life over the drug-fuelled killing of his girlfriend inside a hotel room at Crown Towers. Alice McShearer, today being remembered as a kind and courageous barrister who had a bright future.
A professional relationship turned romantic and then violent. Cameron Pearson today handed a life sentence for hitting Alice McShearer up to 9 times with a champagne bottle in their Crown Towers hotel room. The court heard the pair had a rocky relationship, regularly consuming meth and alcohol. An argument broke out in their hotel bathroom where they were getting ready for a night out in October 2023. The unemployed father of one then striking his victim after she threatened to leave him, before attempting to take his own life. A court heard he told authorities, "I killed the person I loved. I know I did. I lost it. I was angry with her because she was leaving me." Alice McShearer's family today honouring their loved one through victim impact statements, describing her as a kind and courageous critical thinker with an infectious laugh. The 33-year-old's colleagues today filling the courtroom, her former workplace saying she was an outstanding and fearless barrister with a very promising future. The court heard staff carried out a welfare check on Alice McShearer after her father couldn't contact her. Cameron Pearson slamming the door on workers, who then forced entry into the room and made the grim discovery. Cameron Pearson will be eligible for parole in 19 years. Ezra Holt, 9 News.
Stress and burnout is driving WA teachers out of school classrooms, with more than 1,000 quitting last year. New data from the Department of Education also revealed the level of abuse some face on the job.
Colby Langford left teaching after 6 years and never looked back.
The workload was the main reason for sort of looking into another direction. It got to the point where the work-life balance just wasn't there.
He's one of more than 1,100 WA teachers who quit last year, slightly less than the year before, but almost twice as many as 6 years ago.
The slight improvement in the resignation rate is purely because of cost of living related causes, not because of improvements to the safety and the workload security of our staff.
1 in 5 cite stress or burnout as their reason for resigning last year. The median age of those leaving, 39.
We need to make sure the community knows teachers are essential, they deserve your respect, they deserve to be safe at work.
There were 113 reports of assaults against WA teachers last year. Baldiva Secondary College students filmed harassing a relief teacher this year.
Any form of bullying, whether it's on peers or on teachers or on staff in schools, is not acceptable.
If WA teachers keep resigning at this rate, those left behind will be stretched even thinner, with larger class sizes and workloads. The union warning it's unsustainable. The Education Department says WA has gained an additional 2,000 public school teachers in the past year, and there are a range of initiatives to support them. Bianca Carboni, 9 News.
A Senate committee has signalled changes are needed to capital gains tax discounts currently applied to investment properties. The committee, which included 2 Labor members, finding the discounts skewed home ownership toward investors and away from first-home buyers. Any changes likely announced in the May budget. In Perth's western suburbs, where some of the country's richest residents live, support for change to investor incentives is as high as 90%. Tonight calls for the government to grow some guts and level the playing field. Here's Connor McGovern.
It's Perth's most privileged pocket, counting Twiggy Forrest and Gina Reinhardt among its ratepayers. Voters in the federal seat of Curtin are among the biggest beneficiaries of the capital gains tax and of negative gearing. But despite that, most of them want the investor incentives wound back. That's according to a survey conducted by local MP Kate Cheney. 80% of those polled want the capital gains tax discount, which slashes tax paid on profits made, changed, while 90% want tighter limits on negative gearing, which deducts losses from an investor's taxable income. Ms Cheney surprised by the results, given 2/3 of respondents own an investment property.
My electorate does disproportionately benefit from capital gains tax and negative gearing, but there is this sense that people want to live in a fair country. A lot of people across Australia are really hoping that this government will grow some guts and do something brave to level the playing fields.
Approaching the second budget of its second term of government, now is considered an opportune time for Labor if it was to introduce contentious tax changes.
Queen Mary has stepped out onto the hallowed turf of the MCG and embraced AFL with the help of some young fans. The Danish royal kicking goals while King Frederick was presented with his very own Sharon on their first day in Melbourne.
They reign in Denmark, but in Melbourne, it's Aussie rules. Queen Mary, very much the team player at the MCG, handballing with Oz kickers, winning hearts and kicking goals. The Danish Royals mixing with Hawthorn players and gifted a Sharon. This, their final stop on a busy day across Melbourne, which holds a special place in Mary's heart.
It's actually my old hometown. I lived here for 3 years and a lot's changed since then. But there's one thing that's still there, and that's the crown pool.
The Australian-made monarch and husband, King Frederick, arrived last night. The Melbourne leg of their first official visit in 13 years and first as King and Queen, commencing at Government House. Mary in royal red as they signed a guest book and met the Governor and Premier.
Your Majesty, how are you? Lovely to welcome you to Victoria. How are you? Lovely to meet you both. Welcome.
Today, more about business and strengthening ties between our two countries. The royal couple toured a sustainable housing development and were a surprise audience for local skateboarders. Do you know who that is?
Like the Queen or something?
Queen Mary.
Queen Mary.
And King Frederick.
Like Jesus' mum.
Mary here to highlight the importance of sustainable construction practices.
They were excited about having their own space, but this project just took a life of its own.
And the challenges of parenting.
And what we ended with was this spectacular, beautiful annex that I didn't want to let the children in.
It's a jam-packed visit for the royal couple. This is one of 6 official engagements on today's itinerary. An outfit change-up for the Queen at Port Melbourne, where tugboats provided a royal water salute. This Aussie voyage smooth sailing so far, and with at least one more stop to go. Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
It was a return to summer for Perth today. Natalia Cooper, it is sticking around.
Yes, it is. Good evening to you, Tomo. We're expecting temperatures in the mid-30s until Saturday. We had a low overnight of 19 degrees before the temperature climbed to 34.8 under east-northeasterly winds. The heat due to a deepening west coast trough, which is pushing offshore and is set to linger through the weekend. Tropical cyclone Narelle off far north Queensland is expected to intensify into a severe Category 4 system before it makes landfall between Port Douglas and Lockhart River later this week. There's a chance that early next week it could move offshore of our Kimberley coast with a moderate risk of redeveloping into a cyclone. That's definitely one to watch, Tomo.
It is, Natalia, thank you. Body cam footage of the moment 2 hawks were busted trespassing on a cherry picker and arrested in the US. See more next. Mental health beds to close for flu patients, claims from a leaked email here from the Health Minister. The clock's ticking for Kyle Sandilands, his contract battle down to the wire. And introducing DJ King Charles, the Monarch takes over the decks. The state government's winter flu season plan is under fresh scrutiny this hour. The opposition claims leaked emails show the government will cut women's mental health beds at Coburn Health by 1/3 to make way for flu patients.
It is about cutting services to prop up a winter flu strategy, which will not address the real issues across our health system.
Mental health services are not being closed at Coburn Health. It has been a staged opening of that facility, and the dedicated women-only mental health services at Coburn Health will continue to be provided.
The opposition is calling for flu vaccines to be free for 6 months starting from April of this year. Police body cameras exposed exactly what happened when 2 Hawthorn players were arrested in Arizona after climbing onto a cherry picker. They were with a group of friends who pleaded with officers to let them go, but were instead locked up.
They might be on push bikes, but Arizona police are no pushovers, demanding Hawthorn duo Dylan Moore and Connor McDonald get down from the scissor lift they'd climbed up on.
You didn't know this wasn't yours?
No.
You didn't know this wasn't yours?
Well, we saw a random thing.
Okay, but you didn't know this wasn't yours?
Yeah, we didn't know.
The pair came down of their own accord and were promptly placed into cuffs.
You're under
A friend can be heard laughing.
If you walk up on me, you're going to go to jail as well.
But as the severity of the situation sank in, the party of four friends pleaded with the US cops.
Officer, we're from Australia. We literally don't know the rules around here.
Well, that sucks. You probably should learn that before you came here.
You're not going to lock them in jail for the night.
I am.
Really?
Yes.
The group tells the officers they'd been out at the nearby Boondocks bar before some harmless skylarking.
My family are all police officers.
Sure.
So, if I just order an Uber home right now, I'll take them home right now.
Well, they're not going home right now.
Is this legit?
Yes, sir.
Are we being pranked?
We're not being pranked.
While sitting cuffed in the gutter, Moore and McDonald bizarrely tell the cops they're in the military and then NRL players.
We tried to do the military, went to Darwin for military, then didn't get in, so we interrupted.
But the worst was yet to come. When Moore was searched, a plastic bag with a crystalline substance was found. Charges relating to that were not pursued.
It just came out of your pocket.
Moore's mates fessing up to police just who they were.
Have you heard of Australian rules
for
football?
disaster for us.
Australian rules for rugby?
To be honest, this is a bit of a disaster for us.
This is why we're stressing, because we're like, we don't want this. Are you professional athletes?
Yeah, we are
yes, sir.
Hawthorn wouldn't confirm who the other players in the body cam were, but they're taking no further action. Neither is the AFL, but both McDonald and Moore have court dates in the US later this year for trespassing. A hangover that just won't quit. Christina Hearn, 9 News.
It's going to be a long night for Kyle Sandilands, forced to wait until midnight to find out if his $100 million job with Kiss FM is safe. The star breaking his radio silence, saying whatever happens, he has plenty of options.
Kyle Sandilands emerges from his Vaucluse mansion, headed for work, but not his radio job he may or may not have.
I still want to do the show. The listeners will be back on there doing the show.
But this afternoon, it was a TV gig recording Australian Idol. This was D-Day in the battle between the radio host and his employer, ARN. Will he be allowed to return to his $100 million show on Kiss FM, or will he be sacked?
We can't say too much because I haven't heard anything yet.
Kyle and his radio partner, Jackie O'Henderson, were taken off the air after a blow-up 2 weeks ago. Kyle was given 14 days to remedy his behaviour. Jackie saying she couldn't work with him anymore.
I don't think we're going to be seeing another Kyle and Jackie O show, I'm afraid.
And the station owners are intent on dragging out the suspense, announcing its decision not at the usual close of business, but at midnight tonight.
At the end of the day, I've got a contract with ARN. I expect to honour that.
And Kiss will find out just how valuable the Kyle and Jackie O show is on Thursday when the next radio ratings drop. The pair has long dominated the Breakfast FM slot and they're expected to win again, even though they've been off air for the past 2 weeks. Either way, Kyle is confident he'll end up cashed up.
No idea yet. Many options.
Hey, buddy, are you going to buy ARN?
There's many options.
At 1 minute past midnight, we'll know for sure. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
The family of accused Bondi terrorist Naveed Akram is said to be living in fear, the alleged gunman wanting their identities kept secret. Akram's barrister asking a judge to suppress their names and address after telling the court his mother, brother and sister have received almost a dozen threats since the attack. Their Sydney home has been vandalised with pork and a bottle of suspected urine. Another incident involved 2 men parked across the driveway yelling, "We'll come and kill you." Media organisations, including 9 News, fighting against the suppression order. 10 million people in Cuba are without power after the national electricity grid collapsed. The blackout follows weeks of US-imposed oil blockades. Donald Trump says he believes he'll have the honour of taking the country.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it.
Washington and Havana have been in talks to end the blockade. And classical music is usually his style, but today King Charles learnt some new tricks, earning the title of DJ KC3 after getting behind the decks on a visit to Manchester. The 77-year-old later squeezed in a meeting with Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, who was celebrating his 61st birthday. Should you be forced to pay to park at Perth beaches? Next this hour, which local council is entertaining the idea and what do you think? A Fremantle unit destroyed by fire, arson police investigate. Future-proofing WA's fuel supply, the experts warning rising costs are just the beginning. And a controversial overhaul of America's vaccine program blocked. The arson squad is investigating a fire that broke out in a unit in Fremantle. It happened just before 6 o'clock this morning on Queen Street. The resident escaping the home uninjured. The property was destroyed. One of WA's richest suburbs could soon put a price on parking at the beach, the town of Cottesloe considering the idea in a bid to curb congestion, but it would first have to override a decades-old law.
It's an iconic stretch of sand, but it could soon cost a pretty penny to pull in.
Everywhere you look, it's another $1 they're charging you. And it just seems a continual rip-off.
The town of Cottesloe floating the idea of paid parking at the prized seaside strip. An independent report recommends it to curb congestion.
It's challenging during Sculptures by the Sea, but most of the other time people can readily find a bay.
While locals say it's mayhem during peak periods, they still don't want to pay.
I think it's for everyone to enjoy. It's not really fair. It should be something that everyone gets that enjoyment of using. It's everyone's beach.
If paid parking is introduced, it would be the only WA council to do so. Elsewhere, it's free but limited. 4-hour limits at South Beach, Port and Leighton. Scarborough's a mix of 2- and 4-hour limits beachside, while Hillary's is trialling a 4-hour cap in its main car park. As it stands, the town of Cottesloe is the only local government in WA that can't charge for beach parking due to a 1998 law.
We would have to talk to the government about the possibility of that act no longer being enforceable.
We see from time to time councils try this on. We want everyone to have access to their beaches.
Public comment is open until Sunday, but the Mayor admits the council has other priorities.
We're pushing to try and get funding to do up the foreshore because it's currently crumbling.
Sophie Fenner, 9 News.
Construction has begun in Murdoch on 213 new apartments. The project will see 148 of them put straight to the rental market. The rest will be used for social housing.
This is the future of Perth. We want to see more of this. This is why we're taking control of planning around train station. This is why we are undertaking build-to-rent projects.
Project funded by both the state and federal governments calls this hour for Australia to join forces with nearby nations and ensure our oil and fuel supply into the future. Experts say our limited domestic capabilities leave us vulnerable, that rising fuel costs are just the beginning.
5 years ago, WA closed its only oil refinery. Operated by BP in Kwinana, it's now a fuel import terminal.
We can't control some of those big decisions by oil companies, but we can make sure that our supply chains work as best they can.
Tankers continue to dock, but concerned tonight over what happens if they don't.
Definitely, Australia is going to be in absolutely deep trouble.
For security in this space, experts say we need the ability to do 3 things: produce through on or offshore extraction, refine into petrol, diesel and kerosene, and to manufacture oil-based products locally.
Right now, we import 80% of our consumer petrol, diesel and downstream products from South Korea, Asia, Singapore.
Oil held up by Iran in the Strait of Hormuz, seeing ships face extended delays. A warning tonight, the biggest impacts are still to come. The rising price of fuel, just the beginning.
There's 6,000 products in our daily lives. Every synthetic fibre, every plastic we can name, cosmetics, the pharmaceuticals that regulate our bodies, everything you can think of, all of that's going to be impacted over the course of the next 6 to 8 months.
We need to have more capacity, with fuel storage.
Calls tonight for Australia to look for a solution beyond its border.
A regional cooperation, I think, is extremely important. Regional cooperation, to ensure that in times of crisis, we can get the fuel quickly onshore.
We're not the only ones that lack one or two pillars of that triad of extraction, refining and utilization. Making a coalition around those or trying to bring together that does make sense.
Australia currently has a reserve of 37 days of petrol, 30 days of diesel and 29 days of jet fuel. Western Australia's vast landscape is a treasure trove of high-grade mineral deposits, but it's what makes WA stand out that could be its undoing. The sheer size of the state means we're more reliant on diesel than others, the Premier often labelling WA as the nation's economic powerhouse. The mining sector, the backbone of Australia, using more than a third of the country's diesel. If shipments from Southeast Asia do stop, the impacts for WA and the nation could be catastrophic.
That is a worry. Holly, thank you. A controversial overhaul of America's vaccine policy by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been blocked by a federal court judge. The Health Secretary's proposals include reducing the recommended number of childhood vaccines. Infectious disease experts are among the many health organisations praising the decision. A snowmobile operator has learnt the hard way after he was told not to head out in bad weather. He became stranded after ice started to break up. On a lake in Michigan, the US Coast Guard performed the delicate rescue the sheepish adventurer treated after the ordeal. Should you make your mortgage interest only after today's rate rise? Effie Zahos crunches the numbers straight after sport. And fire emergency on wheels, a potato truck up in flames. But first, Paddy Sweeney's here with Sport. And Paddy, a delay for a Dockers defender.
That's right, Tomo. One of their keys isn't available for a date with the Demons. Brennan's bid to get back falling short, leaving Fremantle fragile. How a Collingwood champion escapes suspension despite his charged standing. And Cup Quest, the Matildas chase a spot in the Asian Cup final. Dockers defender Brennan Cox's start to the season has been further delayed, sidelined for at least another week with a calf injury. The 27-year-old was initially slated to return by round 2, the club instead taking a cautious approach.
His comeback put on ice, Fremantle taking no risks with Brennan Cox's calf. But he would have been handy against the Demons' new look forward line.
Magnificent from Van Rooyen, 6 goals. He's given Jacob Van Rooyen a running mate. Van Rooyen having a day out already, and Myercheck to join in the party.
Michael Frederick's ankle injury opening a door for Isaiah Dudley.
Obviously, I try to build an identity on what I can bring to the forward line, and I think it's just my smarts around goal.
The 22-year-old feels he's done the work to continue to build on his X factor in his second year.
I actually feel pretty good, actually. This is the fittest I've ever been going in this pre-season.
The Eagles' hopeful Harry Edwards will return from concussion against the Kangaroos on Sunday. Elijah Hewitt another week away with a quad issue, while Tyler Brockman's return delayed, undergoing another surgery to clear out a knee infection. Magpies star Scott Pendlebury's run of 427 games without suspension remains, while the 38-year-old failed to overturn his rough conduct charge at the tribunal. He successfully downgraded the sanction to a $3,000 fine due to exceptional, compelling circumstances. And Isaac Rankin will return for the Crows on Friday night against the Bulldogs. His 4-match suspension for using a homophobic slur complete.
Put the work in, have that time to really focus on a few areas I need to work on, body-wise, mental-wise, so pretty keen, all ready to go, all firing.
Erin Harwood, 9 News.
Blues young gun Jagger Smith has revealed how a year on the sidelines has changed his outlook. The 20-year-old missed all of last season with a knee injury. The midfielder collecting 32 touches in his second game against the Tigers, and with it, the round 1 Rising Star nomination.
I'm pretty grateful to just be back out there on the park, and that's what the injury sort of taught me, a bit of perspective.
Meantime, Essendon defender Ben Mackay has denied the side is lazy following a scathing assessment by club great Matthew Lloyd after the 62-point loss to Hawthorn. The Matildas have made the perfect start to their Asian Cup semi-final against China, the host taking the early lead courtesy of a Caitlin Ford strike in the 17th minute.
Well, she's arriving on the spot, and doesn't know what
The lead didn't last long, however, China equalising 8 minutes later, courtesy of a penalty. The Wildcats season came to a close on Saturday night in their semi-final series against the Sydney Kings. Let's go live to Coach John Rillie. John, always a tough task against the table toppers Kings, but you did hung tough for 3 quarters. Without the import though, Dylan Windler, you came a little shorter. A few days on, how does the season sort of feel to yourself?
Yeah, look, still a hollow feeling with the results so fresh and us really like pushing the Kings in the series. But, you know, time to reflect on some of the positives in the season, and there was quite a number of those.
Absolutely. The point guard position, John, it was challenging all year. Obviously no Bryce Cotton, Mason Jones was moved on. Injuries played their part, but how high on the priority list is locking away the one position for next season?
Yeah, look, first and foremost, we'll evaluate our players that we currently have on our roster and then the couple free agents. And then, you know, we're a team that has to improve in a number of areas. So let's deal with our current players first.
Those free agents you speak of, Elijah Pepper and David O'Quera, they showed plenty this campaign. Yeah. Are you confident you can keep them?
Yeah, confident because they had great growth. They've been in our program now for a couple of years. So hopefully we can get those guys over the line sooner rather than later.
Fingers crossed, that sounds positive. How about the Warhorse, Captain Jesse Wagstaff? Have you had any conversations around his future?
Not yet. We always give him some breathing room, let him spend some time with his family, but as long as he wants to go around again, it'll be great to have him a part of our organisation.
So he turns 40 next month. You sort of maybe gave us a bit of an inkling there. Is it purely a decision which is up to Jesse?
Oh, absolutely, and as you know, age is only a number.
A legacy player indeed. John, thanks so much for being part of our team here at 9 News this season. We've really appreciated your insights.
Cheers, Paddy. Thank you.
Rugby league convert Zach Lomax says his surprise move to the Western Force had been in the works for 12 months. The former Parramatta Eel sitting down with 9 News, revealing he's behind the 8 ball physically, but committed to forging a formidable career here in Perth. Zach Lomax sporting the Western Force blue, a sight which has shocked many, but not the man himself.
Good part of the last year, really, that it could potentially be on the cards.
The 26-year-old has been the centre of a cross-code controversy. When the Supreme Court blocked a move from Parramatta to the Melbourne Storm, Lomax opted for a change of scenery under Force coach Simon Cron.
I love how he's super intense and he's a winner, wants to win everything, and I feel that's me, and you know, I'm real competitive, and but I feel he resonated, from the get-go.
Lomax's union exposure coming more than a decade ago, representing New South Wales under-12s. An Aussie international in league, he wants to do the same and pull on a Wallabies jersey come next year's Home World Cup.
It's obviously a massive uphill battle, and you know, it's a massive task in front of me, and that's definitely something on the list that I'd love to be able to achieve, and that would be a real proud moment.
The biggest hurdle initially is getting ready to play, his last competitive match coming in September.
Oh, I've got no doubt that I'm behind the 8 ball, and strength and physicality-wise, I'm there and thereabouts. A bit more like I'd love to have a few more reps so my body's isn't sort of pulling up as sore.
Lomax eyeing off the April 4 away clash to Queensland as his Force debut, the start of a journey he insists he's fully committed to.
I'm trying to be the best rugby union player that I can, and by me doing that, it's given all of myself to my teammates here, and they need that from me.
Tomo, Zach Lomax should be a very good signing for the Western Force, and plenty of headlines off the field. Hopefully he can produce them on the field as well.
It'd be a huge effort to go from rugby league to Wallabies.
Absolutely, that'd be massive.
Hope he gets there. Paddy, thank you. Shock finding about medicinal cannabis and treating mental illness. That is next. And the hot potato truck's so hot it's flaming. Then, Natalia, we've got some very warm days ahead.
Yes, Tomo, 36 tomorrow, and temperatures are staying hot until they dip a little come Sunday. Your full forecast is coming up.
Welcome back. Let's go straight to the day's news. Headlines: the Reserve Bank has increased interest rates for the second month in a row. High inflation and the war in Iran fueling the decision. The Deputy Prime Minister has refused to rule out rationing fuel supplies as Perth drivers line up at service stations to fill up. And a Perth man has been jailed for life with a 19-year minimum for murdering his partner at Crown Towers. To finance now, the share market had a muted response to today's Reserve Bank interest rate hike. Here's Chris Kohler.
Households copped the pain today, but the share market finished slightly higher, with 6 of 11 sectors stronger. The big banks were all higher, which gives you some clues about who benefits from the interest rate rises. Westpac leading the pack. And Michelle Bullock spoke at length today about the positives seen as the Australian dollar rises. Ours is one of the only central banks in the world that's hiking interest rates right now, which is pushing the Aussie to multi-year highs against several major currencies. But today, our dollar was steady against the greenback.
Fuel prices on the rise across Perth tomorrow. The average price of unleaded will jump 11 cents a litre to $2.39.9, but you can find it 30 cents cheaper on Albany Highway in Beckenham. Cheaper also on Langara Road in Lansdale and on Great Eastern Highway in Mundaring. Diesel increased by 3 cents to $2.76.5 a litre. The second interest rate rise locked in, and the prospect of a third should cash-strapped borrowers look at interest-only loans to ease the squeeze. Money editor Effie Zahos crunches the numbers.
If you're feeling the squeeze, you might be wondering if switching to interest only for a year could help. Ride out the hikes, come out the other end in a better position. It can give you breathing room, but at what cost? Here's the maths. A $600,000 home loan over 25 years just became about $90 per month more expensive. At the new average rate of 5.73% for existing loans, repayments are now $3,767 a month. Switching to interest only slashes that bill, but there are two massive catches. First, the cost. If you're switching by choice, interest-only rates are about 0.9% higher on average. Even on the higher interest rate, by taking a breather on your principal, your repayments reduce by about $487 a month. Hardship cases avoid the higher interest rates, and arrangements are tailored to individual cases. The second catch? You are not paying down that principal. After 12 months, you still owe the full $600,000, but you have one less year to pay it off. The bottom line, interest only buys you time. It works if rates fall, your income rises, or you plan on selling and property prices go up. If not, you're just pushing a bigger problem further down the road.
There is no evidence medicinal cannabis can effectively treat anxiety, depression and PTSD, according to a new Australian study. Mental health is currently one of the most common reasons the product is medically prescribed. Hundreds of thousands of scripts have been issued for the conditions since it was legalised in 2016. Now, rather than call for help, a man in Japan has driven his flaming food truck directly to a fire station. The vehicle, which served sweet potatoes, could be seen barrelling down the road while on fire. Fortunately, he made it to the station before the flames reached the cab. Scorching Wednesday tomorrow. Natalia has your forecast next.
Welcome back. It was a sunny and hot St Patrick's Day, and tomorrow will be even warmer. 35 was our top under east-northeasterly winds. We dipped to 19 degrees overnight, and right now, can you believe it's still 30 degrees? To the charts, and the heat we're experiencing is due to a deepening west coast trough, which is set to linger through the weekend. Tropical cyclone Narelle off far north Queensland is expected to intensify into a severe Category 4 system before it makes landfall between Port Douglas and Lockhart River later this week. It could move off our Kimberley coast next week and re-intensify into a cyclone. Across the country for tomorrow, and a shower or two and 29 in Brisbane, up to 30 millimetres of rain could fall in Sydney, a partly cloudy 23 for Melbourne and an overcast top of 26 for Adelaide. In our north, the sunny and hot 36 in Broome, Marble Bar to climb to 39. Port Hedland will be sunny and 38 degrees, and as we head further south, 38 in Geraldton too, with winds easing. 37 the max for Northam, and it will be mostly sunny and a warm 30 in Albany. On the waters, variable winds below 10 knots, becoming northeasterly 10 to 15 in the early morning, then tending southeast to southwesterly in the early afternoon. Seas below a metre and swelled to a metre. Another hot one across our suburbs tomorrow. Sunny and 34 in Joondalup, 36 the top for Kalamunda, while Mandurah is going for 34. The official forecast for Perth, Tonight is going to be warm, 22 the low. Then tomorrow, more sunshine and a hot top of 36 degrees. Looking ahead, back to 35 on Thursday after another warm night, 23 the low. Temperatures staying at 34 for Friday and Saturday. We can expect cloud to clear on Sunday for a top of 30 degrees. Sunshine and 30 on Monday and more blue skies and 29 the max on Tuesday. Not all nights will be warm, some getting as cool as 15 degrees. Our beaches are absolutely magical at the moment, Tomo.
It is a beautiful time of the year. Natalia, thank you. That is 9 News for this Tuesday, March 17. Thanks for your company. Current Affairs next. Good night.